Welcome to our world, ladies. I take no pleasure in pointing out the truth regarding this particular article. But it is of great importance that you start to understand what it has been like for men for all these years. It's an article in The Nation. Why are there so many women in jail? The number of women in jails has rocketed over the past 4 decades. Who's been in power for the last 4 decades? Oh, the boomer cohorts. That's who. So if you want to place blame in someone, you might want to look to those from that particular demographic, right? There are 14 times more women in jail in this country today than there were in the 1970s. That's not a typo. The political sphere is brimming with talk of liberal reforms these days, often celebrating a policy shift towards ending mass incarceration towards a more humane criminal justice system focused on rehabilitation. Yet despite recent measures aimed at curbing harsh incarceration policies, the number of women in local jails is only growing. In a detailed new analysis of the experience of women in jail, the fastest growing correctional population, the Vera Institute of Justice shows that in many ways the rise of female in the jailed population over recent years parallels the rising male jail population. So even that tells you, it just means that you're finally catching up. Because you now, instead of being able to think about it, I mean, it's so easy to correlate these things if you just use your mind and think about them. But yes, when predominantly women were mostly in the work or in the home, right, which is prior to the baby boomer generation, the majority of people or women were in the home, right? So yeah, the chance of you being in jail was much greatly reduced because you were spending most of your time in the home and doing your thing. So what fucking crimes could you have been committing, right? Plus, there were a whole lot less laws. That's another thing we got to always keep in mind. And why this correlation where they're saying male and female both. So yes, the boomers have been, just like for the ones that fucking raise their kids, the control freaks and sociopaths, just like in their personal family, the ones that went into government, they practice that same way of dealing with society, the same way they deal with their kids, with that authoritarian mindset. Well, I'll fucking use the heavy hand. And believe me, as someone that grew up and you've heard me say this in prior videos, church leaders, principals, teachers, parents, neighbors, I mean, almost everyone was allowed to beat kids back in the day. It was accepted normal behavior. Mostly it was boys, though, because boys like to be boys. So we were beaten down and told we're not allowed to be fucking boys. That's why you got a lot of fucking, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but you want to know why there's a lot of really effeminate fucking men nowadays? Yeah. Because being a boy was beat the living shit out of them when I was growing up. Nowadays, they won't necessarily beat that out of you with a stick or a strap or a spoon or with their hand or their fist. Now they got drugs to take that place, to replace the physical abuse, although that still exists too, and I see that's still pretty prevalent in the modern societies. But yeah, now they'll just drug the living fuck out of you. Hey, if you're not a good little slave, we'll drug the shit out of you. And we'll make you a good little slave one way or the other. This conformist mentality, like I say, live and let live is how freedom exists. That's how freedom flourishes. Trying to mandate and control people, it only creates the most profoundly sick and sorrowful and hurtful and hateful societies. And we're seeing it. Look out around you, people. Open your eyes. And I feel bad for any woman. But I no longer, not in this modern world. Hey, guys like myself, we grew up and some people call us male chauvinists or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah, we grew up trying to treat women like, oh, holding doors and this and that. But in the modern fucking culture, it's like we're treated like garbage for doing that, for having chivalry. So yeah, fuck chivalry then. All right, you want to beat that out of me? Well, I actually personally in my own personal life, but hey, out in public, fuck whatever. I don't know what to do. I don't know proper etiquette anymore because you're screwed one way or the other now, right? So listen, ladies, they wanted you to bring you into the workforce to be slaves like men. Well, you're getting exactly what. Now you're seeing what it's like, what men have had to suffer, the indignities that we have had to suffer. I'm not saying that you didn't have to suffer your own indignities, in past generations, but now you're getting to see what it's like. And the laws and the amount of oppression that your parents have been using against you, you're starting to wake up and realize that, yeah, fuck, this sucks. This fucking sucks. They'll fucking throw you in jail. And once again, as we're going to read this, here, let me continue on. The Varian Institute of Justice shows that in many ways, the rise in the female jail population over recent years parallel the rise in male jail population. So I already read that. But have largely been driven by harsher sentencing policies. More authoritarianism. Oh, I'll beat you harder, motherfucker, right? Crackdowns on drug abuse. So, like I say, they treat you like garbage. They fucking treat you. They cause you almost to fucking go into depressive states. And because you use substances or other things like drugs or alcohol to mask your depression and try to self-medicate. It's like, oh, you motherfuckers, don't be self-medicating. I'll fuck you up. I told you don't be using drugs, motherfucker. I'm going to fuck. Well, now they're doing it to the women too. So all of us, and that was there's another video, another article I just read about opioid abuses on the, but who opioids? We all know 90% of opiates come from fucking Afghanistan. So how many Canadians are getting that shit by purchasing from your lowly drug? No, that's all coming through. Your government's bringing that shit in. Your fucking doctors. That's all that opioid abuse is coming from the legalized drug trade that's been rampant in this country. Where the fucking doctors or the pharmacists, where your real fucking drug dealers, your big time drug dealers have been gaining and living wealthy and big extravagant lifestyles from legally being able to fucking sell lots of drugs to the people, right? Oh, it's just so fucking immoral, man. Jeez. And broken windows policies or policing policies that disproportionately criminalize blacks and Latino youth. Fuck off. All right? No. When they say black and Latino youth, what they're fucking saying is people that live in low-income housing or ghetto or low-class urbanized fucking parts of the city. And you know what? Look at it around. Yeah, there might be a higher amount of Latinos and blacks. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't fucking figured the numbers. But you see lots of white people getting the same fucking abuse. The same treatment. So don't make this into just a black or Latino thing, you fucking dipshits. No, there are plenty of whites that fucking have to suffer the same bullshit. Stop fucking dividing us in races, you dumbass motherfuckers. All right? There are lots of poor people. And there are lots of slaves throughout history that were white. Matter of fact, white slavery happened long before fucking black slavery. Before the fucking all the Europeans or the Middle Easterns went to Africa for slaves, they had lots of white people in Irish, the Scottish. That they used slaves long before that. So don't be fucking playing this fucking race card bullshit. But women typically become incarcerated after experiencing gender-based trauma through their lives. About 8 in 10 have experienced domestic partner abuse. A large majority have survived sexual violence. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Really, though? Little boys suffer a lot of sexual fucking violence too, okay? But a lot of, just because you don't hear listen, boys and men for the most part don't cry the loudest, right? They don't speak out as much. So just because they're the silent fucking, they're a silent bunch and try to hold their pain and hurt inside, don't think of that it means that it doesn't exist. It just means that they're not fucking openly fucking espousing those details of their lives because they're too ashamed, embarrassed, or hurt to do so. Don't think that doesn't fucking happen, okay? Women are often ensnared at the jagged edge of broken window policing. Aside from drug offenses, other common charges for women include minor property crimes. Oh yeah, because fucking boys and men don't suffer that, right? Such as shoplifting and simple assault. Yeah, no fucking guys have ever had to deal with that. Oh, for fuck's sake. Quit making this into a fucking... See, this is the thing. All this divisive shit does nothing. The control freaks and sociopaths are always going to win as long as you motherfuckers keep divvying us up and put us into little subcategories. We're all oppressed by the central planners, by the coercive fucking entities that represent, or those that represent the coercive entity of the state. Recognize and realize that, you dumbasses, and stop fucking shooting each other in the foot, slapping each other around, hurting each other, and focusing your attention on fucking dividing us all, than looking at those who are actually doing the real fucking crimes, committing the real crimes, oppressing us all. Or, such as threats or minor attacks like biting, shoving, hitting, or kicking. Well, like I said, oh, come on. The Very report notes that generally women tend to have less extensive criminal histories than their male counterparts, even though their arrest rates have grown at a faster rate than that of men. Overall, the share of arrests of women versus men jumped from just 11% in 1960 to 26% in 2014. So they're seeing a rise, but you think, look at who's fucking still being incarcerated the most. Yeah, you're starting to catch up a little bit, but don't fucking try to pretend that means that you're even close to have to suffer the same kind of fucking rampant abuse and indignities that men have had to suffer for a lot fucking longer. Not from husbands where you could escape. That's the thing. You can say, oh, well, my husband abused me. You had the opportunity to leave your husband. Your husband couldn't force you into a prison or force you to stay with you. You could leave at any time the minute they left the house, right? You always had ample opportunity and nobody could force you back into that situation. Whereas in the status environment, men and women both, you're forced into that shit. You can't leave that shit. So quit, like I said, quit fucking using that divide and conquer bullshit, ladies. Man, you have no idea how much you fuckers, these articles, all you're just hampering and hindering progress in creating true freedom and liberty for us all. Someone like myself, I don't separate us into sexes. I want us all to be free. And I don't separate us into races or religions. I want us all to be free. Until you ladies, until you women, and this article was written by a woman, start to catch the fuck up with people like us, we're all going to remain in the same fucking state. And yeah, you'll get even more and more share of that pie, that oppressive pie. Is that what needs to happen? You don't want to learn beforehand? You don't want to learn before it gets too late? Well, maybe you should think about that. With about a third of women in jail having experienced serious mental illness and over half having suffered medical problems, jail is basically the worst place for them to access the services they need, particularly because many have faced specific forms of gender-related trauma and abuse. Oh, for fuck's sake. Swavala adds that since jail stints tend to be just a few months rather than years. Yeah, because men don't suffer any of this shit, right? Holy fuck. They're just massive. You know, I'm not even going to read the rest of this article. I'll post a link to this article in the description. You can read the whole thing if you want. Keep a barf bag handy. And remember that this Michelle Chen that wrote it, I don't know what the fuck her purpose is to divide the sexes, but Forget about the fucking person that wrote it, but just recognize and realize that, yes, women are now starting to realize that the oppressive nature of the state can destroy a lot of people's lives, male or female, child or adult. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.